Hello, my name is Leonard Harris. I teach in the Department of Philosophy at Purdue University in West Lafayette. The title of this program is Building Futures and Shaping Futures and Epilogue on behalf of the Oxford Public Philosophy Program, of which I'm honored to be a part of and honored to promote. I'm the author of Philosophy Born in Struggle, edited by Lee McBride. I'm the author of Elaine Locke, a biography of a philosopher. I'm the editor of Philosophy Born in Struggle, Anthology of Afro-American Philosophy from 1917, co-author with Jacoby Carter on Philosophic Values, the book entitled Philosophic Values and World Citizenship. And I'm glad to promote the idea of philosophy born in struggle as an alternative to existing forms of doing philosophy. That is, a certain kind of leaning forward and prioritizing a sense of the importance of our corporal existence in doing philosophy. I'm also promoter of the Philosophy Born in Struggle Association, which annually presents a conference dealing with issues in philosophy and social liberation. They can be found at pbos.com. So without much further ado, I'd like to give you a brief outline of my presentation. The outline is going to be a focus on defending the importance of optimism and avoidance of pessimism and nihilism. And it will be an argument focused on using tradition as an invention, but traditions which are extremely important, and an analog with utopia, an ideal of the future. What ideals of the future should we have? And one way to think about those is in terms of tradition. Okay, I've argued that traditions mediate between the past and the present and our imagined futures. They're crucial for our understanding of our world in a non-moral universe. I favor conceiving of traditions as inventions rather than perspectival rituals. The concept of traditions we forbear is crucial to the kind of utopia, that is, the kind of ideal that we want to applaud in the future. Let me offer some themes based on Chapter 6 of Ethics and Insurrection by Lee McBride and Chapter 16 in A Philosophy Born in Struggle. One way to think about the value of traditions is to think about the limitations and benefits of the conception of utopia. We do not want to rely on our current preferences to define what counts as a defensible view of utopia. No way. We don't want to rely on our current views, because reporting on our own experiences and feelings is notoriously convoluting. For example, descriptions of our emotions differ depending on what day, what time, and what place we give those descriptions. If we rely on what we want now, even if what we want now is determined by a well-designed survey, persons in the future will have invariably different moral emotions. In short, we would be determining a utopia that satisfies moral emotions that for future generations are antiquated. Imagine in Arcadia, a mythical location of pastoral perfection originally inhabited by the gods, Greek gods, but the Greek poet Thysius imagined it an abode for humans, or like the Roman celebration of utopia, a utopian reality. On the holiday named in his honor, Saturnalia, the wealthy served the servants, and the servants applauded the existence of a common well-being. Arcadia, as a kind of utopia, is a communitas perfecta, a perfect community. Peace, friendship, health, sustenance, and good weather are static. Arcadia was thus a place of immortality, of absolute sameness, no variables. The value of utopia, if Arcadia is the model, is the value of permanent sameness. The transitional, the temporary, and the impermanent are less valuable. That is, less worthy as a form of existence. The laws of physics, in effect, matter, but not the platform upon which those laws work. The law that bodies fall at 32 feet per second squared in this atmosphere matters. The entropic bodies that fall matter less. Arcadia as utopia, if achieved, is in effect death. The end state, the final imagined goal of the best without any form of remainder, is death. No redemption, no recompense, no rebirth, or well-being, let alone development. It is being that is absolutely terminal. We are, however, metaphorically the bodies that are entropic falling at 32 feet per second squared in this atmosphere. The illusory soul gets to be permanent. Let us care for both, that we are healthy and that we age, youth and senior years, the sadness of eventual death and the joy of having lived a well-lived convivial life. If, however, traditions are special events or celebrations which intend to be replicas of life in the utopia of Arcadia, traditions would be rituals of death. Consider the criticism of the concept of utopia offered by Jose Ortega Gasset in the book The Modern Theme. The concept of utopia, he argues, requires that we avoid the problem of the real. The problem of the real is that reality changes and conflicts exist. Yet pure reason construes an exemplary world without change or conflict. The concept of utopia portends an infinite process, namely, the background assumption that reality is always a becoming, and thereby the concepts provides a neat way of avoiding reality and giving credence to an ideal that reinforces through confirmation bias what we already believe. It just confirms what we already believe. If traditions were enactments or confirmations of inalterable values or modes of production, they would be cheap escapes from the reality that meanings always change, even if so slightly. One way to think about this is that let's consider the pictures, the portraits, the paintings, not portraits, but the paintings of Kanduza Sharia, paintings of Genesis and shopping for Jesus. These are examples of traditions. Tradition change, showing previous generations defining wealth in terms of persons, how many and what type of persons were under your domain. That's in the background of the paintings. Status was defined in terms of rare bird feathers, beads, and ornate leather garments, and the Africans painted in the background. After European settlement and colonial subjugation of Africans, European modes of beauty and religion has sometimes come to define status by rare bird feathers in a woven hat, cotton cloak, white Christian frocks, pearls, white gloves, fur coats, white shirts, and cotton and wool suits. That's come to define current forms of wealth. Wealth is now defined by exchange. What type of currency do you have? Defines wealth. Rare bird feathers are now in zoos. The rare bird feathers that she has on her hat in a pressed hat, those birds are now in zoos. Shopping is online. Jesus is a star on Broadway. Value modes. and what traditions exist to make them alive change, radically change, from traditions, alteration, and human life. It is fascinating to be a member of a species that knows, as a matter of empirical cosmological evidence and telescopes, light spectrum analysis, and distance calculations, that all things living are doomed for extinction because of the natural evolution of star depletion and the death of galaxies. There is no escape from cosmic evolution. There is no escape for the need to be energized and optimistic either. We can have more than one moral emotion, simultaneously sadness and elation, self-reflection and fatalistic resignation. Albert Camus was right in his evaluation of the myth of Sisyphus. The story goes something like this. Notorious, ruthless, and deceitful Sisyphus was doomed to pushing a boulder up a mountain only to see it roll down once he nears the top. Instantly, he is required to start all over again. This was his punishment for disloyalty to Zeus. He betrayed the god Zeus by revealing the location of a woman Zeus had stolen and sequestered on an island for his adulterous enjoyment. Um, uh, 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 and she, but however, her father, Asopus, wanted to find her. Sisyphus helps Asopus find his daughter after Asopus granted his request to create a freshwater spring, which would benefit Sisyphus and his community's commercial interests. Sisyphus' condition and the reason he is in it are absurd. Is it better to violate a sacred covenant to gain water benefits for your community than to honor the covenant and let the community continue without the benefit? Whatever the choice, the situation is absurd. All right. The reality of the absurd situations, meaningless efforts, nor relatively inconsequential benefits of even meritorious actions, are not conditions that stand as reasons which defeat the roar of optimism in a disenchanted universe, a universe in which we have no reason to posit a teleology of a utopian Arcadian death. Sisyphus has the great advantage in some ways of constantly being motivated to try and the benefit of constantly being in a condition where he can try. It is the trying and the success of moving the rock that matters, not the imagined goal of completeness, absolute success, finished effort. Analogously, if we accept our fallibilism and traditions as valuable inventions, it is our revelry in imagining futures that to some degree we now live. Further, arguably, one common denominator value that we share with all past and future generations is the value of life as such. Care for agnates, need for respect, etc., may also be common denominator values. Viva negativia, necrobe, however, is never a good. Death and undue harm is never a good. Even if there's a focus on mita kappa, the Buddhist concept of the impermanence of all things, and thereby all that exists has less value than an imagined queer universe of permanence. Even if that's your focus, even if your focus is on that which is permanent and not impermanent. Death or undue illness is not a feature of well-being, and conviviality is a precondition necessary for the absence of negativia, absence of illness and well-being, illness and undue death. We create traditions by what we are doing now, make it institutional, and imagine a future that is not an end state of absolute death, but of radically improved preconditions for the possibility of well-being. Orthopractice rather than orthodox. Nana ex contrata, a leaning forward into the future. We need not search for an end state of being, death, the absolute, or pretend we are slaves to blind evolution. Neither is necessary. We need not be entrapped in the background assumption of utopia as a forever becoming and avoidance of reality. To quote June Jordan in a poem, we are the ones we have been waiting for. There's a weird simultaneity here that defies even an Hegelian absolute. That is, the Hegelian absolute as that which is absolutely now, and absolutely in the future, and absolutely now, the absolute essence of all that is. The future is here, and the future is what we build here that may be of use for the future generations to reinvent. That is, they're certainly going to reinvent. But nonetheless, the future is here now for us to invent traditions that may be valuable, rewarding traditions, namely, for example, doing public philosophy and making it an institutional tradition. Makes this possible because it simultaneously creates well-being and makes possible a platform for future generations to achieve ideals profited by existing interventions. Hopefully, this argument against pessimism and nihilism is in favor of a certain kind of optimism for the future. Hopefully, the analog between tradition and utopia shows that we need not think of traditions as dead rituals, but as living, vibrant goods that we both create and live through in shaping, and they are shaping the future. The traditions then become bridges to the future, bridges for which we can help build by doing public philosophy. Thank you. In closing, let me give you a word of philosophy born of struggle. All concessions yet made to her August claims have been born of struggle. That struggle may be a moral one, that struggle may be a physical one, but there must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will. A luta continua. Thank you.